Superman movie. Bean origin.
That would be amazing if like they did somehow like coffee beans superheroes.
Coffee bean superheroes.
I don't know.
The Flash.
Oh my god. The Flash with coffee.
It would be like what was it? That squirrel in
over the hedge.
in Over the Hedge when he drank soda.
Oh my! And then time just freezes.
Yeah. They zoom out to the globe and it just.
And he's like,
Anyway, shall we introduce ourselves?
Indeed, let's. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, you good?
Yeah.
All right, what's going on, guys? This is Donald Kuzinski, back once again with the General Geekery podcast, and with me, as always, my partner in crime, Hannah Kubiak.
What up?
And this is, once again, the General Geekery podcast, the podcast where we like to geek out about all the things we love to geek about. And today, we're geeking out about, our field of expertise, our careers, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
So,
ramen consumption.
I consider that more of a hobby, but...
It is a necessity, to be sure.
That's fair. That's absolutely fair.
It's a lifestyle.
That's actually true. Oh my god, that's actually true.
Mm-hmm. But what is the actual topic now? Now that I've gotten that out of my system.
It's an important thing. Ramen is an important thing in life. Mm-hmm. But we're talking about theater today.
Mm-hmm.
Just not kind of generalized, but more like the importance of theater for an individual, for a community, and basically all of that in between. We've shared several theater stories from our respective paths on the podcast. I don't think we actually share the stories of how we first got into doing theater.
That's actually a really good idea.
We never actually.
I was just going to jump right in and quote Immanuel Kant, but we can go back a little bit.
Well, I mean, to understand like why theater is like so important to us and for other people, I feel like we need to share like personal histories of how we got into theater.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because everyone starts out different. Like there's no similar paths for anything in life, but. Yeah. So do you want me to share mine first?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So, I'm burping from the coffee. Sorry.
It's a good brew. It clears the guts.
Indeed it does. And neither of us are sick this time, so yay! I can enjoy my coffee unabated.
How do you know I'm not sick?
I'm just assuming.
No, I'm not, so...
Okay, sweet. All right. Ay, caramba. So...
I just have the plague.
Don't we all?
Yeah.
Don't we all?
Bring out your dead.
Bring out your dead.
Okay, share about theater, man.
It's all right.
Yeah.
It's okay. We all go into tangents. It's fine. So how I got into theater personally, I didn't start doing theater until I entered college, truthfully. Because, I was mainly just like, it was kind of like an aimless, like, school life for me going through high school. Like, I didn't really know what to do with life and anything like that. I was doing, like, small little acting, like, voiceover acting projects on the side for fun. I'm like, I'll give acting a shot. Let's just see. So that's when I joined the theater department over at UW Milwaukee, which is where I got my start, and I was introduced, like, to theater, working on it as well as going to see it. One of the first classes I took, it was an out and about, like, one class per week thing, where we literally just, as an entire group, go out and just see a show in the theater community.
That's really cool.
And you actually get, like, college credit for this. So one, that was, like, cool, and at the same time, I was like, I got to experience, like, all the different, like, local theaters, like, at the time we saw some stuff over at the Milwaukee Rep. We saw some shows from Milwaukee Chamber, and I can't even remember. We went to so many different productions. Oh, everything okay?
Yeah, I'm closing the window.
Oh yeah, sure, absolutely. Sorry.
It's in my face.
She was blind. She was blinded by the light.
Blinded by... Okay.
love that song. Anyway, but yeah, that's how I got my start in theater. How I learned more about like the greater Milwaukee community of theater and how that really started for me.
That's awesome.
So yeah,
What was your first show?
that I was in, or
Interpret that how you will. Just
the first theater show I saw, like that wasn't like a musical or anything like that, because that's its own kind of thing, in my opinion.
yeah. I don't have very much experience in musicals. Do you?
I've only done one musical.
Okay, you got that on me. I haven't done any.
It's not as glamorous as you would think it would be.
Yeah, no, I don't think so.
That's fair. But
I mean, I wouldn't want to be in musicals. It wouldn't be it's not my top pick.
For me, not me either. So we're on the same page on that.
Okay.
But
so your first show you saw?
The first show I saw was the first semester I was at UWM. They did a production of King Lear on the main stage, where they actually brought in some of the main actors from Shakespeare and Company and from Lennox to work with them and also be a part of the show. So that was like my first introduction to Shakespeare and Company through them, which years later down the line is when I took the intensive.
Wow, okay.
So that was kind of like a weird kind of domino effect for me on that one. And then the first show I ended up being in was an Appalachian adaptation of Peer Gynt.
All right. Tell me something about that. What is that about? I've never heard of it.
So basically Peer Gynt is like it's like an adaptation of like the Odyssey.
Oh.
It's like an Odyssey story in a way, just in the life of this one man. The Appalachian version basically, of course, takes place in Appalachian Mountains. He likes a girl, fell in love, gets into a bunch of different circumstances, joins a pig-like cult, ends up having a boar-like son. Mom dies, grows up, becomes super successful. He loses all of his money and other things. He ends up in an asylum where the inmates have taken over. It was a weird show. All I can really remember it from like stuff I've done is that for some reason I put some kind of like wires into my head apparently in order to electrocute my brain in the asylum scene.
Wow.
That's all I can really remember from that.
I've always wanted to do a Shakespeare play that was set in an asylum. I'm trying to think of what a good play to do that would be. But
I feel like Mackers.
Actually, yeah.
For some reason, I feel like Mackers would probably be like the go-to pick for that kind of setting.
Maybe, yeah. I don't know. I have a couple of ideas as well, but
We can absolutely share them during this.
Oh, man.
So,
I don't know. Well, it's a show I'm thinking about directing soon, so maybe I won't...
Oh, tight lips.
Maybe I will be tight-lipped about it.
That's fair.
It probably wouldn't work to set it in an asylum, but it would be interesting. I feel like sometimes when you do something like that with Shakespeare, where you set it in an interesting, like a weird setting, you run the risk of overpowering the story with where it's set, where people are like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. And they're like...
True.
They're like, they're absorbing the themes intellectually because of what it all looks like, as opposed to it getting into their hearts through the acting.
True, but...
Like, you don't want the oddity of your set to overshadow the people who inhabit it, I guess.
Right. But then again, there was also that one... I read some years ago, someone did a production of Mackers where one man basically played the entire cast.
What? But
Yeah.
how?
I don't even know either. I'm trying to remember the actor's name. I'll look it up. I'm actually looking it up right now.
Okay.
But while I'm doing that, Hannah, how is your experience in theater? How did you start?
Well, like you, I didn't actually start doing theater until college. I went in as an English major, and just for fun, I auditioned for the main stage at my college
Mm-hmm.
at Franciscan University of Steubenville, Ohio. It's a tiny college, and the theater department, when I was there, had 12 people in it total
Okay.
in all 4 years. Majors, anyway. There were minors and people who just sort of dabbled in it and stuff, but really, really tiny. But the theater was really good quality, and I auditioned for shows, and I was actually cast in a student-directed one-act of Euripides' Medea.
Ooh.
So I was one of the chorus members in that, and so it was my first experience of acting, and I absolutely loved it. And so theater kind of has its origins in Greece a little bit. Ancient Greece is what we learn first in our theater history sort of stuff. So I always thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
I got my introduction to theater by being involved in a play that was written kind of in the heyday of professional theater.
Right.
And
Because I mean, how many Grecian stories like are actual plays that are constantly put on?
a lot, actually.
Like both the tragedies and the comedies. Like like you have stuff like Medea, Lysistrata,
Lysistrata, yeah.
Lysistrata, Lysistrata. I don't know why people. I always screw up the pronunciation on that. And just so many.
Yep. Oedipus.
Oedipus Rex.
Antigone.
Antigone. That's
Antigone is one of my dream roles.
really.
Yes. I would love to play Antigone sometime. But anyway, we did this Medea. I was part of the chorus. It was just a student-directed one act, but it was amazing to experience what it's like to be part of a theatrical production. I just fell in love with it. And I actually, my grandmother is an actress, actually. She's been in a lot of shows in her area, in one of the suburbs of Chicago.
Okay.
So she's involved in this community theater that has been around for so long that it's basically professional quality stuff, basically.
That's so cool.
Yeah. And so I kind of grew up in the shadow of that a little bit, and it was a little bit more spectacle heavy than I personally like. I really like the bare bones kind of stuff, and growing up, I guess I kind of got that impression that, oh, if you do theater, it means you're like egotistical and you want to be seen and you want to, all this stuff. So I kind of always thought, well, I can't do that because I don't want to be that kind of person.
Right.
But then when I got into this program, it wasn't about me, which was awesome. It was like, just we're telling a story and bringing people together and making them feel like they're understood. Like theater is supposed to show somebody in real time having an experience that the audience can relate to. So I'm gonna go on a little tangent here. Have you ever seen Shadowlands?
Once.
With it's about C.S. Lewis. Anthony Hopkins as C.S. Lewis.
Yeah.
And there's this little theme that goes through it where he's talking to an acquaintance about why we tell stories and everything. And they were talking in relation to why do we read books? Why do we bother reading stories and all this? And his answer was, we read to know that we are not alone. And theater is a really unifying thing in that way, because you're not just reading about something, you're seeing it actually happen. Even though you know that they're actors, it's the most real sort of
right
Yeah, and to be to be somebody else on stage is a way to understand your fellow man, and to also play a character that's kind of like yourself in some ways. It's a way to express yourself and not be judged, I guess. It's a way to communicate. Yeah, it's in when I was an English major and we did our writing classes, they would always say, "Show, don't tell."
Right.
You know, like don't say that this man was angry. Show that he flipped a table or something. I don't know. You know, like that's a rather extreme example, but
right.
Yeah, if you have to tell somebody that he's angry, that's, you know. So that was a really long-winded way of saying that theater is it's a way to communicate, and it's a way to connect with people, because there's what do they call it? There's these three main like I don't know what they're called.
Oh, it's okay.
The paradigms or something. The true, the good, and the beautiful.
Okay.
Those are three ways that we can communicate and give information, kind of. By speaking the truth, or by saying what is good, you know, and by saying what is beautiful.
Right.
We've sort of, I feel like these days, we're a lot more scattered in what we believe is true and good.
Oh, yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
So, and we're very much focused on not so much universal truth and goodness, but individual truth and goodness, where you say, well, this is the truth, and then someone else can just say, well, that might be true for you, but it's not true for me. Or just say, well, I think that this thing is a good thing to do, and someone else can say, well, it might be good for you, but it's not good for me. So we can't agree or connect in those ways anymore.
Yeah, it's
but beauty is another matter, because beauty doesn't really, you can't, if you look at a sunset and say that it's beautiful, no one's going to disagree with you about that. It's a universal truth.
Right.
Yeah.
I've stared at way too many sunsets in my life, and
Yeah. So it's kind of like that when you're telling a story, or when you're telling something that happened to you. People can't say, that didn't happen to you.
Right.
You know? So storytelling is a way to express ourselves and connect with other people without dividing them, I guess.
And in a sense, that's basically, like, down to the simplest of terms, theater is basically storytelling. It's live storytelling. Like, as Shakespeare said, all the world's a stage, and all of the people are merely players.
Yep. Yeah.
I know I botched that quote, but I forgot it off the top of my head. But and listening to that, I'm reminded of, like, one of my old professors. He said this. It was like one of the first few, like, acting classes I took. He said something along the lines of, on the stage we are the storytellers. We are the ones who speak the truth that others may not be able to say for themselves.
Yes.
It's because there are a lot of stories in theater, both classic and new, that tackle a lot of subjects that not many people like to confront head on in everyday life.
Yeah, it gives a voice to people who might not have a voice otherwise.
And I think one of the like the best modern examples of that when the time it was released was Angels in America?
I think so. I haven't read it, but I know about it a little bit. It was about some sort of shooting, right?
Basically, it revolved like the main themes were revolved around gay marriage, the HIV like outbreaks, everything like that in between. It was during a time, like a major time in a society when like all of that was at its almost critical high, and it was tearing apart like communities and countries and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's a piece that has stood the test of time for like how powerful a message it sends. The less said about the second part for some people, the better. But that's different. That's a different topic. But we are the storytellers. Like you and me as as actors, we are storytellers.
Yeah.
Even when we work behind the scenes, when we're either directing a show or helping stuff on the side, we're storytellers.
Right, yeah.
Because theater is more of a visual medium compared to some other forms of storytelling, like film and novels.
Yeah.
Because with novels, you can kind of like paint the picture in your mind of like how it would be. So I feel like when you read a novel, like it's personal. It's like personal experiences that take shape in that.
But theater
is also, you can also have personal experiences in that, but you're also sharing it.
It's a community experience.
It's a community experience.
Yep. And our people today are often feel lonely and ostracized and separated from other people, and so to have a community experience is extremely valuable.
Absolutely.
I forgot what this was. I was holding a thought here in my hand.
Well, while we're still on the topic of like the community, like a big point of that is like after a show's done, like the people that really took their time to like pay attention to several things in the show, they say afterwards, and they talk about all the different aspects from like the character work to the story to like the set pieces and costuming in between. Like we've had discussions like that on several shows.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember my thought.
Go ahead.
Okay, so people ask me a lot of the time, because I'm actually a really shy person, and I'm not very good at talking to people, if you can believe it, but I do 2 podcasts. Just basic human interaction and conversation is difficult for me. And people ask me, they say, well, you're so introverted and shy. How do you get up there on a stage in front of people, in front of so many people, and do a show?
That is a very good question.
So vulnerable like that and talk so much. And I say, well, it's because when I'm with people just having a conversation, I'm just myself. But when I'm on stage, I'm not myself anymore. I am another character, and this character has words to say. This character has a voice that maybe myself, because of my shyness, don't really think that I, as a person, have. And also, in theater, I know what I'm going to say, and I know what's going to happen.
Right.
And I know what other people are going to say in response to me. So in theater, things can change, and they can evolve and be slightly different, but there's an order to it. And real life is chaos.
Yes, absolutely.
And it's unexpected, and you have no idea how it's going to go. But in theater, at least, as an actor, I feel like, okay, for the next 2 hours, I know exactly what I'm doing. I know what I'm saying, you know, and I have a voice.
There's a weird, like when you're an actor performing on a stage, there's a weird feeling of detachment, but also at the same time, connection.
Right.
Because on one hand, for a period of time when you're in the space working, whether it be rehearsal or whether it be rehearsal or an actual performance, you detach what you are in the outside world.
Yep, absolutely.
And for a period of time, whether it's just an hour and a half of one act or 2.5 hours to 3 hours of like a 2-act performance, you take on the mantle of one or possibly several characters, depending on like what the source material you're doing.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
So, in that respect, like I think I can probably relate this to like different things. Like, we all wear different masks in life.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Like that is basically a fundamental truth that a lot of people subconsciously know, but don't really know how to express.
Yeah.
Actors have to be the kind of people that can take the masks on and off freely at will because we have that kind of power. We have to because we're leaving ourselves vulnerable on stage in order to feed off the energy of a crowd as well as induce emotion, whether it be a reaction of laughter, of sadness, of anger. And that... It's a weird feeling. It's unlike any kind of feeling that you can kind of get from other kind of experiences.
Yeah.
For me, personally.
Yeah. So, when I first moved here to Milwaukee, my first show was with VFR, and I played Ophelia in Hamlet.
You were great in that, by the way.
Oh, thank you. But I would do the whole madness scene every night where she loses her mind and sings all these songs and gives flowers to everybody and is just one of the most free things ever. There's a freedom in madness. You can do whatever you want and no one can stop you. You could just jump up onto the throne and stand there and tap dance on it if you want to. No one can stop you because you're mad.
Calm down a bit, Joker. Calm down a bit.
But anyway, one of my fellow actors, the actor who played my brother in the show, he asked me, where do you get all that stuff? Like, what happened to you that you're able to connect with that kind of craziness, like that madness and that sorrow and all of that? What happened to you? And I was like, well, what happened to me was, well, you were there, brother. The man that I love and thought loved me, he went crazy and broke up with me. He killed my dad, and then he left town.
Get thee to a nunnery.
Yeah. Yeah.
Basically.
Exactly. Because I think maybe some actors have to sort of look into their past to get emotions about things, but as an actor, I find that my own experiences aren't big enough, especially for Shakespeare. In Shakespeare, I just have to embody the character. I can't go up there and say, okay, here I am. This is Hannah expressing her past and her hurt and her trauma through Ophelia. I'm like, no, this is Hannah becoming Ophelia and experiencing Ophelia's hurt and trauma and all of that, basically.
Right.
Because we embody characters because we feel like we can't express ourselves. We have to tell our truth through someone else, through a character.
Right.
Which is why sometimes I find it hard to play a character that's similar to me.
Because, like, you don't have that feeling of, like, it's too similar to, like, your own
circumstance. It's too similar to myself, and when it comes to myself,
Mm-hmm.
used to bottling things up and putting on a mask. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know full well what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
I've been in that position as
mm-hmm.
well. But at the same time, like, you can also find like small little discoveries in there. Maybe some about yourself, but also about the character as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you can use your own experience. Absolutely. It works better for me the other way. It might work better for someone else who's a little bit less reserved and shy to just be themselves, you know?
And everybody has their own way, like, of dealing with any, especially when it comes to the classical works, like the Greek tragedies, Chekhov works, Shakespeare.
Mm-hmm.
Part of it, like, can differ depending on, like the history of the actor and their emotional connection, or the character they build over the course of the process, which brings me to this point as someone who also goes to see theater.
Right, yeah.
Because we can talk about this personally because we've seen a lot of theater. We've seen many different productions, both recordings and live, of some of the same shows.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to Shakespeare. Mm-hmm. And I actually had this question asked to me by a former coworker of mine. They're like, "But I thought you said you just saw this show the other day." And I said, "I did, but that was a different production. I'm going to see this show, which was a new one. It was a Shakespeare show. I'm trying to remember which one, but I forget off the top of my head which show it was. But she's like, but isn't that weird that you're seeing it at the same time?" And I'm like, no, because each production is different. Mm-hmm. Like, say you go on back-to-back nights to two different productions of Hamlet.
Or the same production, even.
Or even the same production. It's highly unlikely that you're going to go see two different productions of Hamlet so close to each other within the same time frame, but this is just the scenario. So, for the main actor who plays Hamlet, the famous soliloquy speech of "to be or not to be," one person is going to do different from another person, as a third person will do different from those previous two.
Yeah.
Ultimately, like, every single actor is a different storyteller and will portray it differently.
Yeah.
Of course, the direction of the show and all of the other actors working together to create an ensemble piece, it's going to end up different.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you can go see the same show done by different productions, or even the same one back to back. Because I've done that before too. I've seen the same show on two different nights.
Yep.
And get a completely different reaction each time. Mm-hmm. Because sometimes, like, the actors will do something a little bit different in order to change things up on stage a bit, especially during an extended run.
Yep. Absolutely.
Like you even noted it, like, when we were doing Titus Andronicus and I was playing Chiron.
Yeah. I
was going into during like the murder scenes, I was going into like different forms of like just mad crazy kind of enjoyment to
like a jackal.
Like a jackal to in like center-minded, like sadistic kind of enjoyment. Like there are different levels that
that murder scene. Ooh.
Well, and then the kill room scene, like, where we go to different levels of like like
kill
frightened
room. Oh man, it's so good.
Oh man, we've mentioned the kill room scene so many times, we might as well just write it off as probably our paycheck.
Yep. Oh man, the kill room.
One of my favorite moments in the history of EFR, but
me too.
Then again, I think we're a little biased because we worked on the show.
Yeah.
But yeah, like different experiences can happen. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Which is why I always encourage people, like, when they go to see, they want to watch more theater and they want to get more involved, and I say, if you want to watch, like, good theater and everything like that, if you think a show on one night was not to your liking and not everything like that, I say go see it a second time with a new lens and not expecting the same stuff. Or even pay attention to different aspects, because things, your perception changes on each subsequent viewing. Similar to how when you read books and watch movies.
Right.
Live theater is the exact same way.
Absolutely. I've read a book later in life and realized something about it that I didn't understand before, just because of where I am in life.
Exactly.
You know, let's see. I had a couple of things about theater that I was just sort of jotting down here as we were talking, because I didn't want to forget them, because I have a mind like a sieve, or rather just like a giant black hole there sometimes.
Yeah, if you want to share some, go right ahead. I would love to. Absolutely.
So, just some more stuff about the importance of theater and storytelling. When I was in college, my senior thesis was about Polish theater in different kinds of captivity. So, because Poland has had this history of being oppressed throughout, I think what I did was throughout the 20th century. So that was when the Nazi takeover of Poland happened, Nazi occupation, then the communists.
Yep.
And then there was one more. I'm trying to remember what it was. Oh, gee.
I am part Polish, so I feel somewhat affected by this.
Me too. And when I went to Poland, when I was studying abroad, that was one of my favorite places that I went. It was lovely. I don't know if it's just because of the way that my brain is, but walking around in different towns in Poland, I could just feel this sort of hurt and gentleness, I suppose.
Like you
in the land. I don't know. That sounds kind of hippie trippy.
Like one of those moments where you just like stop and just like notice your surroundings and just take it all in.
Yeah, it was very. Yeah, it was so quiet, and I never really thought about myself as being Polish before that, because I spent more time growing up with the English-Irish side of my family. But when I went to Poland, I sort of these are my people too. But I wrote my senior thesis about Polish theater in captivity, and the theaters during when the Nazi takeover of Poland happened, the Nazi occupation, theater was illegal.
Yep,
but people still had sort of like underground theaters where they would gather together in secret with windows drawn by candlelight to see theater, to read plays to each other, even though that was punishable by death. And while writing that, it sort of made me think, why would you take such a risk? And it's because you need these stories to do more than just exist. And you need to... A lot of it was to keep the memories alive, basically.
Right.
Telling these stories. That's something one of our actors in The Elephant Man has been saying from the beginning, is the story of Joseph Merrick. He's like, yeah, let's keep the memory alive. You know, don't let people forget these stories, and don't let people forget how to...
Who said that?
Zach Ursum. He plays Merrick in the show.
That makes so much sense. He did such a great job.
Oh,
such a beautiful job.
Good. Yeah. Oh, it's been a great experience working on this show. Assisting with the directing. I almost said directing.
No, well, you are an assistant director.
I am the assistant director. It gets my heart every time.
To piggyback a little bit off of like you talking about like why they did all that in secret, like it's also kind of like a similar thing with people nowadays. Is like the theater is not confined to like the same to sitting down in front of a stage, performances on the stage. Theater and performance take itself in many different forms. Like we go like we go see plays in small little black box things when there's we go see places in like small little performance theaters when there's only like 25 chairs available and the rest is standing room only.
I heard of a play one time that was done in a hotel room and there were 10 seats.
I've heard that too.
Yeah.
And I've heard and not to mention all of like the outdoor kind of theaters that do all this. I mean, you have like Shakespeare in the Park here in Milwaukee. You have the American Players Theater in Spring Green, Wisconsin, and also so many regional theaters that do outdoor performances for their own productions or for festivals, whether it be in the most beautiful of conditions outside or in the most daunting of rainstorms, everything like that, and they don't cancel. People still come to see it.
Yeah.
It's not to the extent of like how you described it with Poland in those times.
You can have theater anywhere.
Exactly. And the reason why we go to them is because stories always give people meaning and just like pure unadulterated like emotion that can't really be rivaled by anything, no matter what the medium.
Yeah, it helps us to feel like we're not alone. It can be sort of a source of unifying people who feel like they're the only ones who feel this way. Like, there's something great about sitting and watching a play and hearing a character say something, some truth, and thinking to yourself, oh my gosh, I thought I was the only person who felt this way. And viewing theater and being a part of theater can be a source of healing. Like, there's this really awesome group here in Milwaukee. It's called the Feast of Crispian, where they use Shakespeare to help war veterans or military veterans work through their trauma. And because that's a very lonely place to be, coming home from basically from being a soldier. Basically, you may have seen combat. You have, there's a certain closed offness you have to come up with, and it's such a sacrifice, and it's very underappreciated. I feel like people who serve our country overseas come back, and there aren't very many resources, and they're kind of on their own, and with this weight. Maybe they've done things that they're not proud of for their country or something, and the country itself doesn't understand, But
you want to hear a crazy story about that, though?
Yes, go ahead.
2 of my professors are actually close workers for Feast of Crispian.
Yeah. Oh, awesome.
Jim Tassi and Bill Watson. They were 2 of my main influences going through acting in college, and we actually had some people in the acting BFA during my time that did serve and worked with Feast of Crispian, and like I know exactly what you're talking about, because I could see you can see like some of those like pent up emotions like break out during certain moments, and that's more real than I think like any trained actor can really do on a stage. That's an experience that is unmatched.
Yeah, because of the I guess brutality and toughness of a military job. It's hard to let go of all of that and understand that you're allowed to have feelings and emotions. You're allowed to be sad. You're allowed to regret some things that you did, even though it was for a good cause, to protect people that you love.
Like, as you said, it's a healing process. Like, it's a healing process, obviously, for the veterans who take part in it. But for some of the people watching as well, it's the only kind of experience that I've experienced in theater where, like, it's a community healing as opposed to, like, like, a community emotion is opposed to that. But
yeah, oh, for sure.
That's that's something else.
Yeah. What's one of your favorite plays
of all time?
Yeah, like a play that you of all time.
Oh, that's a tough one, actually. I can think of one, actually. It's a show. I haven't seen the show. I've read the play, and I actually did a student-directed scene of it for one of my final college projects. It's called Soul Samurai.
Okay.
It's done by the director Keenan, who people might also know for doing the D&D show She Kills Monsters.
Oh, okay.
And it's a very fight heavy show, also because like the director is also a fight choreographer.
Yeah.
For his theater company as well, and it takes place in a dystopian apocalyptic style New York, where basically feral vampire-like creatures have basically overrun most of the population, and it's mostly it combines like feudal era Japanese style with like gang culture warfare. Ooh. And it tackles styles of like class discrimination, love and self-acceptance and self-loathing in certain aspects, because there's special character moments where all that happens. And spoiler alert for those of you who have not seen Soul Samurai or read it, I highly recommend it. Highly recommend it. Basically, one of the main villains that basically shows up is the lover of the main protag, who she thought died years ago, but instead she was turned into one of these feral vampire-like creatures. Ooh. So basically the emotional weight and like all the guilt that she felt for leading to her death, because she felt like she knew she was guilty for it because she wasn't able to save her. And all that came back to her, and that what causes this entire like schism. And it's just like this is mostly action oriented. Why am I crying so much from reading this? And I've seen snippets and bits from like other productions that have done this. I'm like, I thought this would be a cool show to do, and I directed like one of the climactic scenes from it. Yeah. And I'm like, and I was talking with my actors who did it. Yeah. By the way, Emil and Ashley, thank you so much for joining with me for that. I appreciate you guys so much for that. But yeah, it was just like, I felt something in the moment, they felt something in the moment, and we're like, okay, there's not too much talking in this, and it's a lot of action, but we've got a great piece. Because I feel like with the visual aspect of theater, like, it's all right there in front of you. And you can notice subtle little movements in either body language or facial expressions that can really hit the most impact with an audience. Yeah. And I felt that during Elephant Man.
You did? Oh, good.
I felt that during Elephant Man with several different people, with especially with Treves and Merrick. Like those two.
Those two actors have a really good connection. For sure. They
do. And God bless Zach and Thorne for delivering their hearts out on that stage.
Holy crap, yeah.
For those who don't know what I'm talking about, if you're in the Milwaukee area, Elephant Man runs for one more weekend at the time of recording this podcast, as well as it being released. So go see it.
Yeah.
Go see it. Yeah. Go see it by Voices Found Repertory. Go. Woo! Go now.
Yes.
Buy those tickets.
What are you still doing here? Get out of here. Go.
Stop the podcast right now. Go buy the tickets. Go see the show. Come back to this point in the episode immediately after you get done watching it.
Yep. So anyway, now that we've all seen The Elephant Man, ending.
Well, we can actually kind of talk about that a little bit.
Oh, you want to talk about how it.
Well, yeah.
What touched you in it?
So, This is going to be a bit different between us because you had a hand in the show while I was just a spectator.
Sure, yeah, and I have some things to say about this too, so...
Go right, yeah. This was a very interesting play because it kept up the style of, like, proper Brit... The main themes were the societal laws as well as the norm, how we contradict them at times, and how they're there for a reason, but they're also so restricting in a way. And
there are standards we abide by.
There are standards we abide by.
Yes.
Following them makes me happy.
Because they are for our own
they're
good. Continue.
I'm like, oh my god, this sounds totally totalitarian. Why is this like this? But, yeah, like, as you're going through the play and you're watching, like, Merrick go from the lowest of lows, from being this, he was a freak in a show.
Yeah.
To basically being accepted by other members of society, and, like, the higher-ups came to see them, and he viewed them as friends, and he had such a unique outlook on the world, like, in different concepts that were not, like, the norm, and everyone was fascinated by that. And his movements, although he, like, the actor who played Merrick, he basically had to contort his body in order to mimic, like, the movements of someone who had that condition.
Yep.
Like, you could see the struggle of just him walking, even when his, like, back was turned to the audience. Like, every movement had a purpose. And that's what I love. Like, and everything, like, visual medium, whether it be theater or movies, when every action has a purpose, that's when I'm glued in.
It's awesome.
It was mesmerizing. I'm not going to lie.
I would say that this play actually is on my list of plays that changed me when I read them.
How so?
I would say that I'm a very helpful person. I take really good care of people, but I don't take very good care of myself. And a lot of people can relate to this, I am sure. And there's this moment in the play where the doctor, who's been taking care of the Elephant Man all through this play, he knows that Merrick is going to die, basically.
Yeah.
And there's this whole, when somebody puts so much of themselves into helping other people, what happens when they don't need you anymore? You know, it's sort of he has this whole, like, mental break talking about everything that he does for the world. He says, yes, you know, I go, even in my spare time, I go to different people, trying to cure them, people from all different classes of society. They're all the same. They don't care that they're dying. They don't take care of themselves. I tell them what to do to take care of themselves, and they won't do it, and I don't know why. And basically just the idea of...
And even relating that to, like, tending a garden.
Yeah, he relates it to tending a garden. He's like, I'm such a good gardener, and I take such good care of everything. And it's sort of that scene, and even just reading that monologue years ago when I read this play, it got into my heart, where it's like, okay, so here you are as a very helpful person, and you help people, and you help people, and you help people, and you empty yourself, you empty yourself, you empty yourself, you give everything, and they're still empty too, and you don't know why. You've done so much to fix it, and it's not fixed somehow. And it's sort of this futility, I guess, and it's the idea that he's put so much into this person who doesn't really need him anymore. And it's kind of like that. It's kind of like that destructive relationship that you can have with people. If you're a helper, you can run the danger of the people that you help, like, holding them back.
Yeah.
Because they don't need you anymore, but you need to help them to feel like you're a worthwhile person, to feel like you belong here. You say, it's my purpose to help you, so if you don't need my help, what's the point of me? Like, just that.
I've had breaks like that too, over situations like that.
So yeah, that made me think, and that might be too much information, but I don't care.
But I'm glad you share that, because I forgot about how important that speech was until you shared it, and you're right. You're absolutely right. Like, the entire show, I feel like, can be based around that, because it's a tale of two different broken men.
In two different ways.
In two different ways. One who's physically broken, because of the deformities that he has to live with, and then his caretaker, the man whose body is healthy.
Yeah.
But spiritually and mentally, he is broken because of all of this that he has done.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if it's because of what he's
Well,
done,
yeah, I worded that wrong, but basically, the work that he does, and him not really getting any satisfaction for himself, out of it.
Yeah.
He's not caring for himself.
Yeah.
And
who knows? Who knows what happened in his past that caused that sort of almost codependency, I guess. But
I kind of want to play on Treves now. I don't know why.
What?
Like that character's backstory, for some reason, I'm like, I kind of do, but at the same time, I kind of don't.
I mean, he had a happy childhood in Dorset, so I don't really.
I don't know. I don't understand. I don't know.
He must have lived in a very well-ordered, well-disciplined home.
Probably didn't really have the time to think for aspirations that he could have for himself.
Probably not. Yeah, just
almost kind of like how I was before I entered college, when I was in high school, because I feel that hard. Mm-hmm. I feel that so hard.
Yep. Oh man,
this just got real.
I know.
This just got real so fast.
So, what did you have for lunch today?
Oh man. Well.
Oh gosh.
Well, we're reaching the hour mark, so I think we should probably wrap this up.
We should get out of here.
In summary, guys, the reason why theater is important, we talked about this throughout this episode, but ultimately, one, it brings communities together for a great event to share an experience. Mm-hmm. Two, it keeps telling the stories of the past and highlighting why these stories are so timeless and are so important in our lives.
Keeps the memory alive, yes.
And three, it's just so we can geek out about them.
Yep.
Honestly.
Yep. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know where I would be without art or theater. I honestly don't know where I would be.
It creates emotion.
I would be so boring.
It creates bonds.
Yep.
And honestly, for those of us that work in them, it creates relationships and friendships and partnerships that can last a long time.
Absolutely.
We've made a lot of friends in theater, that we are still connected with and we talk to constantly.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Absolutely.
It's a community. It's an experience. It's one of the rawest forms of storytelling out there.
Yeah. Before I did theater, I didn't really know why I felt or thought the way that I felt or thought. And now I know I'm not alone.
Yeah.
That's really what it comes down to.
Indeed.
Shall we sign off?
Yeah. Oh, and also, I figured out the man who did the one-man show of Mackers.
Oh.
Alan Cumming.
Alan Cumming?
Alan Cumming.
Why is that name familiar?
Have you seen the X-Men movies at all?
Yeah.
The second X-Men movie who played Nightcrawler? The guy with the blue skin? Yeah.
Okay.
That was him.
Ah. All right.
I know it's kind of a weird thing, but I wanted to say that earlier, but we were getting so into it so into the conversation for some reason I just didn't want to head us off.
Yeah.
So thank you guys so much again for listening in to the General Geekery podcast. As we said before, Voices Found Repertory's production of The Elephant Man is in its second weekend right now.
Mm-hmm.
You can go
Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
I would highly recommend going to see it. They are playing over at the Underground Collaborative in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, downtown, in the basement of Grand Avenue Mall. Tickets right now are on sale on brown paper tickets. You can also follow Voices Found Repertory on their Facebook, their Twitter, Instagram, all their social media platforms. Check them out. They're a really good company. We honestly can vouch for them because we worked for them.
We've worked with them. Yeah.
We've worked with them. Worked for them. Worked with them. Honestly, it's always on and off. Be honest. But yeah. So go ahead, follow them. Go see Elephant Man. And if you can't see Elephant Man, if you're outside of Wisconsin or in Wisconsin, always go support local theater and experience the experience that we have detailed for you guys.
Yes.
Also, you guys can check out the General Geekery podcast on social media at Gen Geek Podcast on Facebook and Instagram, and General Geekery on Twitter. You can also follow us on all of our listening platforms on Spotify, Stitcher. We're on Stitcher now.
Oh, yay!
We're on Stitcher, finally.
Awesome.
Also on Spreaker.com, and as well as on the YouTube channel Anime Revolution Productions. All the links for that is on all of our social media pages as well. Hannah, where can they check you out at, my friend?
Well, every Monday at 7:30 Central Time, me and my party will be rolling dice and slaying monsters on Loaded Dice Adventures. So you can tune in at twitch.tv/Loaded Dice Adventures. And I can be followed on Instagram at Pythian Legume.
Indeed. Oh, I just remembered. I'm finally getting my mini.
Oh, yes!
I just remembered. They finally completed the mini.
Woohoo!
Fenric will live!
Yay!
But you guys can also follow me on social media at Twitter and Instagram, and also on twitch.tv at RyuzakiMK7. The links for all of those will be in the description for this episode. This has been episode 19 of the General Geekery podcast. For Hannah Kubiak, I'm Donald Kaczynski. And always remember, whether you're watching a movie, reading a book, or hopefully supporting local theater, always remember, guys, keep your geek on.
Always.
Clink, clink.
Clink, clink.
Later, guys.
Later.